Ukraine continues to put up a valiant fight to slow the advance of the Russian military machine 15 days into this invasion. Casualties are mounting on both sides as diplomatic efforts between the two nations have thus far failed to bring an end to the bloodshed. Meanwhile, the Biden administration is assuring our allies of America's commitment to Ukrainian victory by sending Kamala Harris to Warsaw. Inspiring. Friends, it is time for Hold the Line. Welcome to Hold the Line. I'm Buck Sexton. The situation on the ground in Ukraine is dire and getting worse. That much is for sure. You have Ukrainians taking more casualties, civilian casualties rising as well. And it looks as though the Russian war machine is increasingly encircling major cities, cutting off Ukrainian fighters from reinforcements, and in just a matter of time will have surrounded the capital city of Kyiv. Here you see they're moving in from the north, the east, and the south, and it looks as though they're going to be expanding those red areas of Russian military control in the days ahead, as some of these cities are increasingly places like Kharkiv and Mariupol are coming under strong bombardment from the Russians, and the Ukrainian fighters are starting to lose territory or lose ground in these areas. This is vicious urban combat that is underway. The Russians are taking some heavy casualties in all of this. Depending on the estimates you see, it's in the thousands of Russian casualties already. And there is certainly a lot of reporting on Russian troop morale being pretty low. They don't really want to be in this war. At least a lot of the Russian troops realize this is not a just war by any stretch. But the Ukrainians are outmanned and outgunned still, and the Russian war machine is moving forward despite the valiant resistance that has been shown so far. The situation now is one that would likely only change dramatically if there was a major intervention from Western powers like a no-fly zone, and that so far is off the table. I view that as a bad idea because I do not want the United States to go to war with Russia over Ukraine. I don't want NATO to go to war with Russia over Ukraine either. We should be helping, but allowing the Ukrainian people to fight for themselves. And then there's the Biden administration diplomatic response going on in the background of all of this. Kamala Harris, who has really shown an impressive ability to look completely incompetent at every stage of the Biden presidency so far and to create a lot of cringeworthy moments. I'd also note, why are they wearing masks outside in this photo? Not to draw in this COVID discussion right now, but masking outside is never anyway, they were all in the White House at the State of the Union unmasked, but now they're masking outside. Now Kamala's masking outside. This is absolutely absurd. But here's Kamala saying, well, this is about defending the territorial integrity of Ukraine. Watch.
I am here, standing here on the northern flank, on the eastern flank, talking about what we have in terms of the eastern flank and our NATO allies, and what is at stake at this very moment. What is at stake this very moment are some of the guiding principles around the NATO alliance, and in particular, the issue and the importance of defending sovereignty and territorial integrity, in this case of Ukraine.
At least she got the country name right. Oh boy. Look, the Biden administration has a lot of people who have a long history of failure in terms of decision making. Joe Biden at the top of that list, of course, for the last 40 years. He's been on the wrong side of every major foreign policy issue. But beyond that, even the last year, I mean, just look at Afghanistan. Look at the disaster that unfolded there for a withdrawal operation done on a timetable that Biden and his team established and then tried to execute on. And we ended up running out of that country. And you'll never forget the footage of people on the airfield there trying to jump on U.S. planes as they were taking off. It was a disaster. And Kamala Harris, who was at one point assigned to the U.S.-Mexico border to deal with that, instead would go down to Central America to look at root causes, as if that's going to fix anything. But she has been dispatched by the Biden regime to have some hand in this diplomatic effort. It's not going well, but she is saying some of the basics, at least. I'll give her credit for that. Like, they're going to keep helping the Ukrainians. Watch this one.
I can tell you that the issue facing the Ukrainian people and our allies in the eastern flank is something that occupies one of our highest priorities in terms of paying attention to the needs, understanding it is a dynamic situation and requires us to be nimble and to be swift. I mentioned being swift in terms of accountability and consequence. We also fully appreciate we must be swift in terms of providing assistance where we can be helpful, and we will continue to do that.
Really inspiring stuff from Kamala Harris there. Amazing. I mean, people are ready to, storm the beaches of Normandy after hearing that one. Absurd, but Kamala Harris is the vice president, so this is going to continue. We need more serious people than what we have at the top of this Biden regime, but unfortunately, this is the government that we currently have in this country. Terrible things are happening right now in Ukraine. I mean, there was the maternity hospital in Mariupol that was bombed. You see the aftermath of it here. There are awful things going on. This is a war that did not have to happen. Just the fact that this war was launched is a failure of diplomacy that really was being led by the Biden administration. Right? It didn't happen for 4 years under President Trump. It happened in the first year of Joe Biden's presidency. And it's because Joe Biden projects weakness on the world stage. He's too old for the job. He's not very bright. And the people around him live in a fantasy land of liberal limousine virtue signaling and don't understand how the real world actually works. So things are going to get worse in Ukraine in the days ahead. And we can't expect any brilliant breakthrough on diplomacy or otherwise from the Biden administration. So this is going to be up to the Ukrainian people. And they have a very tough fight on their hands. Here's Ukrainian President Zelensky accusing Russia of genocide after that attack we just showed you on the maternity hospital. Watch.
Авіабомба на пологовий будинок – це остаточний доказ. Доказ того, що відбувається геноцид українців, європейців. Ви не зможете сказати, що не бачили, що відбувалося з українцями, що відбувалося у Маріуполі з маріупольцями. Ви бачили, ви знаєте. А отже, ви повинні посилювати санкції проти Росії так, щоб у неї більше не було жодної можливості продовжувати цей геноцид.
There's a